what is the number one mistake that most wives make, 99% of them, when they're trying to improve, fix, save their marriage? This is the same mistake I made even after training for marriage coaching. So 10 or more years ago, trying to save my own marriage, trying to improve my own marriage, the communication and like stopping the triggering and being so bothered by small things and fighting about small things, like really unimportant things. It came mostly from me. So, of course, I went very deep into this area of self-development. And even after training for marriage coaching, even after training for life coaching, I made this mistake. And all of us make it. And I guess it's a lot of conditioning from how we grow up and how we are raised. And the mistake is when expressing the problem in your marriage, you say something about your husband. So he's not listening to me. Instead of, I don't know how to make him listen to me, but I will figure out. Can you hear the difference? So I made this mistake all my life. It is looking at the problems from a victim point of view. This is the easiest way I can explain it. From a victim point of view, not from an empowered point of view, not from a place that you have anything to do with it. So even if it seems like something that your husband is 99% guilty of doing. So I've recently talked to somebody about her husband being insecure and having low self-confidence, right? And like that is like, it's not the wife's fault at all, right? So like these are his own issues. But instead of explaining it, like my husband has low self-confidence and he's jealous and he's insecure and we have a lot of problems because of this, is I don't know how to make him see that I won't cheat on him or that I am his. So it's even 1%, like if you are part, like at least 1% of the problem, right? Then say it in a way that is empowering. That means like you can do something about it. So that is the biggest mistake. My husband does this, my husband does that. He doesn't listen, right? Like he doesn't care. He's not giving me his time, his attention. He's not affectionate. He's not romantic. He doesn't spoil me. He doesn't help with the house, with the kids. So like you name it. It's always the husband, 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 husband. That you'll see also in my videos when I try to solve problems. I have to name them like this because this is what people are looking for. What do I do if my husband dot dot dot? So it's not what do I do if I can't make my husband, I don't know, listen to me, right? Like I gave this example. It's coming from a place of empowerment instead of a place of victimhood. It's coming from a place of actually looking for solutions instead of complaining about a problem. And for a lot of time, I try to solve this problem. So when I focus on him, right, like I'm going to give my example now, or something that I did like almost all our marriage, right? Until like not a long time ago when I finally became an adult. That's how it feels like. That's how it feels like coming from transitioning from that place of victimhood and now like just seeing it like, okay, like what can I do about it, right? Like even if it's not your fault, I heard this thing, I love it so much. Even if it's not your fault, it is your problem. Right. So it's not your fault that your husband doesn't listen, let's say, but it is your problem. It is your marriage. You want him to listen. So why not take like 1% responsibility from the 100, right? And like get the thing that you want in your marriage, even if it's not your fault, even if you think like it's everything on your husband. If you think the problem is 100% at him, then there's no solution. And you actually try to change it with all the wrong strategies that I did and everyone does. Let's sit and talk about this. The other person feels defensive, feels attacked and criticized. They shut down. You don't solve anything when you sit somebody down on the couch and let's talk about our problems. Yes, it is very logical to do that. Most people tell me it doesn't work. Like most of them. They are smart, capable people. Sometimes I speak with both of them from the couple. So they're smart, capable people, like sitting down and talking about the problems which is the most logical and obvious solution, doesn't work. Taking responsibility, each of them, like they don't even have to talk to each other. Ideally, if both of them go separate ways and mind their thoughts and feelings and how they act or react and just learn to be adults, they come together and like have the perfect relationship. They don't even have to talk about it. Like each person has to mind their own thoughts and feelings and how they show up, and showing up as their adult self or higher self instead of the inner child, right, who's wounded and triggered and has needs and is like tantruming inside of us. We all have that inner child. It's okay. We don't have to repress it, but we can be adults and nurture the inner child and stop the actions and reactions, the screaming, the like all the things that we do that don't work and that we don't like in a relationship. What I teach is, yeah, like even if one person does it, it will change the relationship and model to the other person, like unconsciously, not even talking about it. Like you can do this even if your partner, sometimes it's the wife who doesn't want to work on the marriage, but I'm speaking to the wife, so it is what it is. And women have more power in the relationship. It is what it is. Again, I'm just speaking the truth statistically and like scientifically. So if one person is becoming an adult, right, and not available for trauma and fights and low standards for the relationship anymore, the other person has no chance but like to wake up and like raise to that standard. You don't even have to talk about it. You just have to become an adult. This is maybe the one of the hardest things I've done in my life, becoming an adult, an emotional adult. This is how we call it in psychology, becoming an emotional adult. Being aware of how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and how I want to act or react based on what I want to get from the relationship. So if what I want is emotional intimacy and a very good relationship, I'm not going to go to my husband and start complaining about the things I don't like, right? No, it doesn't work. So just being an adult, showing up intentionally, it's like it changes everything. And it took me years of hearing this and working on this until I finally got it. I was very childish, I guess. Not all people need so much work, right? That doesn't mean you need years and years. If it makes sense to you, maybe it will click to you faster. Maybe you're older or wiser, right? So maybe it will click for you faster. Don't come at any problem from a position of a victim, come with a position of a victor. So that means taking responsibility for whatever you can, whatever you show up. The other person, let's say they are ugly and acting very badly with you. If you stay there in the situation, you are perpetuating it, you are accepting it, right? Like the simple thing you can do is like just leave the room, and you already say like, I'm not like my standards, like in my ideal marriage, like uh talks like this like I are not a thing, like I'm not participating in this. Right? You don't have to yell back, or it doesn't come from punishment, it comes from high standards and love for yourself, for your partner, for the marriage. Like I don't do this, like I don't do fights. It's just the standard. I don't do fights. No thank you. No thank you. I know somebody like this. It's the guy who doesn't do fights, and it's the wife who told me like, I want to fight with him, but he doesn't do fights. Like he never wants to fight me. I start and start. So it's always two people, right? And what we want is that the person who changes is the other one, right? Like it feels like it's I don't know how we think it's more simple and easier to make the other person change instead of just looking at us and like controlling ourselves, right? And our reactions and our emotional reactions and emotional triggers. So yeah, this is the biggest mistake I made and the biggest mistake I see 99% of the women make. And again, like the 1% who don't make this mistake and naturally are like solution focused and confident and growth minded, right? Like they have been raised in very happy, healthy families. And I'm so envious on them, but yeah, it is what it is, right? So be a victor, be a victor, come, like think of the 1% that you can change. Like that's my biggest advice. And when you express a problem, like this is the simplest thing. When you express a problem, express it from your point of view. So I don't know how to make myself feel respected instead of my husband doesn't respect me. Can you feel the power of these two? My husband doesn't respect me. It's for me, and it's awful to be in that situation. My husband doesn't respect me. It feels hurtful. It feels, oh my God, for me, I'm a victim, right? And it sounds like I'm victim shaming, and I only want to empower actually like anyone. I don't know how to get respect. This is a lesson for me. How do I get respect, right? It doesn't work with the shouting because like it leads to bigger fight and more disrespect. Then what? Then what? How can I respect myself? How can I raise the standards for what I'm available for or not? What are my values? What are like my everything? How do I get myself to be respected? Not how do I get my husband to respect me? Can you feel the difference? Like just say these two, like think about the biggest complaint you have in marriage. You will see it's something about your husband and put it like say it out loud and transform it then to be something about you and say it out loud. Like, tell me the difference. It's so empowering. It's like to make it mean something about you. It's not fault, like it's not fault. It's not whose fault it is. It's what's my power in this? What's my lesson in this? What's the thing I need to learn to like to become an adult? Right? To have high standards and make myself respected and make myself like feel loved and listened to and heard without screaming. I don't want to scream. I don't want to scream and shout and like shake somebody, hey, listen to me. Right? Then what? Then what do you do? Right? Just like say them out loud. I promise, like how you feel in your body is like so different. So different. Okay, I went a bit too long with this, but this is the biggest mistake. And if you start with this and change this, like everything else will become so much easier, exponentially much easier.